Ja, herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Folge des Outside-Podcasts. Mein Name ist Paul Voss. Mein heutiger Gast ist einer der OG-Gravel-Fahrer überhaupt mit Peter Stetina. Peter war genauso wie ich früher in der World Tour unterwegs, allerdings ein bisschen länger ging seine Karriere als meine, bevor er dann damals noch für sein World Tour Straßenteam fahrend schon an Gravel-Rennen hier in den Staaten teilgenommen hat, bevor er dann, so wie ich, irgendwann auch Vollzeit-Gravel-Fahrer wurde. Genau, mehr dazu, aber später. Was mich da jetzt übrigens auch mal interessieren würde von euch ist, wen hättet ihr gerne im Podcast als Gast oder Gästin? Schlagt mir gerne Leute vor aus der Gravel-Szene, die euch interessieren und die ihr hier mal gerne hören würdet. Ich bin gerade, wo ich das hier aufnehme, das Intro, immer noch in den USA, und zwar jetzt am Sonntag, nach dem Belgian Ruffle Ride, der eher so semi-gut verlief. Ich habe beim letzten Podcast schon erwähnt, wie Sea Otter war. Danach ging es für mich ja weiter zu dem Levi Gran Fondo in Windsor, wo ich auch das Interview mit Pete geführt habe. Und das war ein Straßenrennen mit einem enorm hohen Preisgeld. Ja, war ein ziemlich geiler Kurs, ziemlich schwer. Und ja, war auf jeden Fall, also sagen wir so, wenn man da gewinnt, hat man sich das Geld auf jeden Fall auch verdient. Ich konnte der Achter werden, womit ich an sich erstmal zufrieden bin. Ich habe leider so ein bisschen den Anschluss zur Spitzengruppe verpasst im letzten kleinen Anstieg, wo ich so ein bisschen gebraucht habe, um im Rhythmus reinzukommen. Aber ja, wie auch immer, Achter war ganz okay. Ja, damit kann man zufrieden sein. Dann ging es für mich weiter Richtung San Diego, wo dann jetzt heute das Belgian Ruffle Ride Kalifornien anstand. Ich habe jetzt die Woche über sehr, sehr wenig trainiert, um einfach ein bisschen frisch in die Beine zu kommen, weil ich mich die ganze Woche so ein bisschen matsch gefühlt habe und ja, keine Ahnung, der Puls noch nicht so richtig hoch ging. Das hat eigentlich ganz gut funktioniert. Ich hatte heute ziemlich gute Beine im Rennen, solange mein Rennen halt irgendwie stattgefunden hat, weil ich leider nur bis Kilometer 45 gekommen bin von 170 und mir da die Felge gebrochen ist. Ja, das kann leider passieren bei den Geschwindigkeiten, die wir mittlerweile im Gelände fahren. Dazu muss man sagen, dass der Kurs vom Belgian Ruffle Ride San Diego oder Kalifornien eigentlich generell so ist, dass man in den letzten Jahren immer mit Straßenrad fahren konnte. Also die letzten Jahre wurde auch oft der Sieg auf dem Straßenrad geholt oder zumindest mal mit Slicks und irgendwie 32er, 34er Reifen. Dieses Jahr war es ein bisschen anders, war immer noch der Großteil auf Straße, also weit über 80% war Asphalt. Aber die anderen Prozente waren halt zum Teil echt heftige Single Trails mit sehr, sehr spitzen, herausragenden Steinen. Ich habe über die Tage schon mein Setup geändert, bin extra auf den RS gegangen, weg vom Slick, aber habe mich halt für einen 40er Reifen entschieden und nicht für einen 45er, was auch der andere Großteil der Fahrer gemacht hat. Also die meisten sind 40 gefahren oder sogar noch schmaler. Bis auf ein paar vereinzelte, wie unter anderem auch Matt Beers, der das Rennen gewonnen hat. Zweimaliger, glaube ich, oder vielleicht sogar dreimaliger Cap-Epic-Sieger. Genau, der hatte sich wie gestern Abend anscheinend noch entschieden, auf 45er zu gehen, was auch die richtige Entscheidung, weil die Abfahrten unserer Geschwindigkeit doch schon echt sehr grob waren, wie man bei mir auch sehen konnte. Da hat es mir dann leider die Felge zerhauen wollen, Stein, ein bisschen zu heftig dagegen geballert ist oder ich zu heftig dagegen geballert bin, wie auch immer. Das ist schade. Ist irgendwie nicht so cool, jetzt nach den 3 Rennen nach Hause zu fliegen oder zurück nach Europa zu fliegen und nicht so ein richtig geiles Resultat zu haben. Klar, so 2x8 ist jetzt auf jeden Fall solide und gut, aber ich glaube heute, oder ich weiß, heute wäre Podium drin gewesen, mindestens Top 5 und das ist halt schade, dass das irgendwie nicht umsetzbar war, aber wie auch immer, ich bin da noch ein bisschen trainieren gefahren und genau, nehme jetzt das Intro hier auf und morgen früh geht's für uns, also Cardio, mein Filmer ist ja auch dabei, geht's für uns direkt nach Girona, wo dann am Freitag, jetzt am kommenden Freitag, Tracker 360 auf dem Plan steht und ich habe da mega Bock drauf. Wetter soll gut werden, Strecke ist mega schön. Ist gerade noch so ein bisschen die Setup-Frage. Also ich weiß, was ich für Übersetzung fahre. Ich werde Mountainbike-Übersetzung fahren, aber reifenmäßig, ob ich 45 fahre, was safe ist, so auch vom Reifenfreiheit, oder ob ich 50er Reifen fahre, die auch reinpassen, wo auch Platz ist, die aber auf jeden Fall weniger Fehler verzeihen bezüglich irgendwie einer kleinen 8 oder wenn es dann doch irgendwie noch matschig wird auf irgendwelchen Streckenabschnitten. Von daher, da habe ich jetzt noch den Flug, wo ich mir dazu Gedanken machen kann. Ich bin noch unentschlossen, aber ja, das feine Setup werde ich dann am Mittwoch entscheiden. Genau, es sind mittlerweile, wenn ihr das hier hört, schon 2 YouTube-Videos draußen auf dem Outside-Kanal von dem Trip hier in den USA. Und es würde mich freuen, wenn ihr da mal reinschaut, vielleicht den Kanal abonniert, liked und auch kommentiert. Wir stecken da mal viel Arbeit rein und genau, würde mich freuen, wenn das natürlich mehr Menschen da draußen mitbekommen, was ich hier mache auf meinen Reisen. Und ich hoffe auch, dass es neben den Rennszenen, die jetzt beim Belgian Murphy Ride nicht so viel waren, trotzdem auch unterhaltend ist mit dem, was ich da mache. Genau. Das war es erstmal soweit. Ich hoffe, ihr findet das Interview mit dem Peter Stetina gut. Ich fand es sehr interessant. Ich mag ihn. Er hat eine gute Perspektive auf den Sport und finde ihn immer einen interessanten Gesprächspartner. Also, wir hören uns. Viel Spaß bei dem Interview. Hey Pete.
Hey. Auf geht's.
Auf geht's. Nice to have you in the podcast. Before we're gonna start with like our conversation, we gonna do this or that game.
Okay.
Which most listeners are used to. 2 buy or 1 buy?
2 buy.
Is it because of your sponsor or do you actually like 2 buy more than 1 buy?
I actually really like it. I have a 1 buy option and I think it's really good for the mud. And sometimes the aerodynamics, but in gravel, you sometimes have road speeds descending at 80k an hour, and sometimes you have mountain bike slow climbs. So I think having the big variety in all the gears is really nice.
Okay. Gravel or road?
I mean, now it's gravel, man.
Yeah, but in your heart, your passion.
Oh, the passion? Stage racing. Gravel stage races are like the best thing in the world.
The mix. 45 or 50?
Oh, tire? 45.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, tires, yeah. 45s.
Wrench it or bench it? So like, do you work on your bike yourself or someone else?
Oh, it's Big Tall Wayne. Yeah, wrench or bench it. Yeah. Big Tall Wayne is, my mechanic and the folk hero of gravel. He helps everyone.
Is he living around here as well?
He lives up in Truckee in Tahoe, where I have a cabin in the mountains, but it's 3 hours drive and yeah.
Okay. Wine or beer?
Beer.
IPA or lager?
IPA.
With or without alcohol?
Ooh. Time and place. Without alcohol the day before and with alcohol after the race.
Instant coffee or barista coffee?
There's some good instants now. It doesn't matter as long as the test is black. If you have to put milk in it, then you're changing the flavor. If you can drink it black, it means it's a really good coffee.
Yeah, it's actually true. And sometimes even barista coffees, like for example, I mean Starbucks in the US actually quite okay. Like it's a solid.
It's fine. It'll get the job done.
It gets the job done, but it gets the job done better than most places, I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's true. There's barista coffee.
Yeah.
I think there are instant coffees which are better than Starbucks.
Totally. 100%. Yeah.
Colorado or California?
I mean, I'm a Coloradan living in California now. I mean, it's California where my home is, but that's a hard choice.
Girona or Santa Rosa?
Santa Rosa.
Easy.
100%.
Yeah. Race suit or jersey bibs?
I mean, we're going to talk so much about that and how gravel's changed. I wish we were all in jersey bibs, but you have to do a race suit now.
But you will prefer
in my heart jersey bibs.
Yeah. And you hold on quite long for that.
Yeah.
Sitting on or pulling?
Pulling.
On feeling or power meter?
Power meter.
spirit of gravel or all-out racing?
Oh, the spirit.
Conservative or taking risk?
Conservative. Once you're a dad and you've had a bad accident or two.
Yeah. With or without plan?
Oh my gosh.
All good.
I had that on Do Not Disturb. I am sorry.
Maybe that was an emergency call. So
No,
that's why I go through.
Car mechanic.
Yeah, with or without plan?
With or without,
Plan.
like a training plan?
Whatever you want, like, or a
Oh, with a plan?
for,
Yeah.
just in general.
My wife and I are planners. Yeah,
Yeah.
we like structure.
Yeah. And maybe that's also a good way to describe it then, with
Yeah.
or without structure.
Yeah.
Lifetime Grand Prix or Gravel Earth Series?
Independent. Just if the race makes sense and it's rad, you do it.
Okay. Unbound or UCI Gravel Worlds?
Unbound.
It's always the last question, but it's also interesting. Depends where people are living.
Well, now you could even say Traca or Unbound, because I would say Traca in that case.
Yeah, I mean,
They're so close.
yeah, that's true. And yeah, I mean, Tracker is the European version of Unbound, and yeah, it's definitely for me the nicer race, like from the area and everything.
Yeah.
Unbound is just like, I mean, this podcast I'm talking so often about it that I hate Unbound. I really don't want to go there, but you kind of have to do.
Yeah.
So I hope one day I can win it and then I don't have to go anymore.
I think that's what Lachlan's doing.
He's not coming back, or?
I think he's doing the 300, the XL.
The XL.
Yeah.
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 I mean, to be honest, I would have done
I mean,
this.
for Lachlan too, that's just like shooting fish in a barrel is what we say in the US. Like, it's just too easy. I mean, if
Yeah.
Lachlan has to race through the nighttime, no one keeps up.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So let's go into like your cycling career. How did you actually come to cycling? I mean, I did a bit of research, of course, and I kind of found out that your parents, no, your father and your grandfather?
My dad and my uncle,
Oh, your
brothers,
uncle,
they
yeah.
were, I mean, for our generation that is probably listening to this, like my dad and his brother were kind of like the American Schleck brothers in the 70s and 80s. Like,
Okay.
you know, one was a little bit better at one days, one was a little bit better at stage racing, and they were like winning all the US stuff in the 70s and 80s. So it's definitely a family thing to start.
And was there back then a lot of races in the US?
It was definitely a fringe sport. I mean, I think they went to Europe once. They went to the Olympics back when it was for amateurs. But, you know, like they did, like the Coors Classic was like a super big stage race here in the 70s and 80s. And like Hino would come over for that, you know. So it was definitely not what it is now. But yeah, that was their thing.
I mean, kind of fits now that the US cycling scene or world cycling scene is like a bit on like a down. It was definitely bigger in the past. I mean, when I did Tour of California, Tour of Utah,
Yeah.
Colorado Classic, I was like, I don't know, 4 stage races or 5 stage races a year plus
Yeah.
one-day races.
I was super lucky in my World Tour career. Like, it was right during that sweet spot of like American road racing, in that, yeah, I mean, I always raced for American teams. I know, you know, I did, you know, Slipstream, which is now EF, and then I did BMC, and then I did Trek Segafredo, and being American teams, like every year I got to do California, Utah, Colorado. Sometimes there was Alberta,
True, yeah.
you know, the Quebec, Montreal. So we actually got a race in the US and North America a lot, which was, I talked to Matteo Jorgensen now, and he's like, he wishes he could do that stuff. So
Yeah, it's true.
I think it was mostly the Lance effect. You know, it was like Lance and Levi, who were here at his race. You know, they were such big stars. They were changing the sport here. And it was like the years just after Lance's winning and retirement, like there was all that momentum, so that road cycling got super healthy. And then when he, you know, was positive and all the downfall from that, I think the money started to leave too, without another big champion to hold the sport up. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably, just understanding it's kind of similar to Jan and Germany.
Yeah,
You know?
it kind of similar. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how big the effect was like regarding finances. So like the money went out of the sport. It's true, and we had less and less races. But I mean, in the US, I think it was really more tied to like Lance Armstrong, in Germany, I think not so much with Jan, but definitely played a part in it, or played a part in it. You grew up in Boulder, that's right.
Yeah.
So you are like an Kenyan athlete then. So like going up in altitude.
Yeah.
So like, do you like? I'm actually interested. Do you still feel the effect of it? Like, I mean, like Keegan,
Yeah.
he's also he grew up also in altitude, and you can see it in altitude races. He's like always a level higher or better than we are.
I think there's something to be said for being born at altitude. Now that I live at sea level, it's obviously different. Your body regulates differently, but it's easier to adjust. Like I'm always, it's the first week is a little bit uncomfortable, but it's almost like day 3 or 4 up high, I'll just do a big 5-hour ride, and you get home and you're salty and dehydrated and your heart rate's high, and then I'll just drink like 4 liters of water and sleep hard, and then like the next day I'm like, my body is like, oh yeah. And I'm sure there's all the other adjustments that come with like your hemoglobin and stuff, but like in terms of like feeling acclimated, it definitely happens faster.
Okay.
In the whole Boulder thing, so the history of Boulder is basically there was that Coors Classic race that my dad did and all this stuff. And Taylor Finney's dad, Davis Finney, was a big sprinter in those days. And so it was because of that race that Boulder became like this cycling place in the 70s and 80s. And kind of all that old guard stayed, right? Like my parents settled in Boulder because it was this beautiful little hippie town. Davis Finney settled there, with Connie Carpenter. And the original race organizer still lives there. And like all the sports scientists that were like into cycling, like it kind of became, because of that race, Boulder became this like endurance sports place. And then, everyone started having kids there. And like, that's kind of how Boulder became like, it's kind of like how Girona is in Europe. Like, it's like, that's where everyone goes to be a pro. But yeah, Taylor and I are actually like born and raised there, which is cool.
And why did you move away from Boulder?
My wife, I met her. She's also from Boulder. Very independent woman, strong, career driven, and she was never gonna come to Europe and just be the wife of a racer. She wanted her own career, and she graduated college in 2010, and there was a recession in the U.S. at the time, and even in Boulder there was a hiring freeze. So like, she's a civil engineer. She's total, I call her an engine nerd, right? Total brainiac. And she, even in the public works, like if someone retired, they would division out their job to other people that were still in the division. So total hiring freeze. And I said, okay, like, I was, neo pro in the world tour finally. And I said, like we can move, but it has to be a cycling place, like we can't move to Chicago or New York City. So we just looked at cycling-friendly places: Colorado, Arizona, Virginia on the East Coast, and of course the whole West Coast. And her best option was actually in Santa Rosa. And I had been there for a training camp because Santa Rosa has this whole history of Postal with Lance and Levi and Contador used to come to Santa Rosa for training camps. The road cycling, as you're starting to see, is so phenomenal in Marin and NorCal. So I said yes, and we just packed up a U-Haul and we never looked back. And that was in 2011.
Okay, crazy.
And we've been here since.
Aber sorry, I just switched to German. How long did you live in Girona?
So I was there early days, like when Vaughters first brought over the Garmin Slipstream team. We were a pro continental team in 2006, and I was 19 years old. It was a punk rock city with smoking in all the bars and just cheap Spanish coffee. But it was really good cycling, and that was all because of Johnny Welts, right? He was one of our directors, and he was like, he was the pro in the 90s who found Girona before Lance and Hincapie and all those guys came. And so that early generation, they actually had team houses. Sorry, that early generation of Team Slipstream. So they would just put us in those houses as we came over for 1 or 2 months at a time. And then, yeah, it just started to grow. And I think because there was a bunch of Americans there, I think some of the British riders, started coming, and some of the Aussies, because we all kind of have the same, like, we're so far from home.
Yeah.
So it kind of became like this English-speaking stronghold in community of racing. And then it just continued, more pros started coming. I know you were there for a long time doing a lot. Dennis Van Winden.
It was crazy during the winter. There was literally like no one. Like Christian Meyer, David Miller, Robert Gesing, me.
Yeah.
So that kind of
Millar, or David Miller. And Hasink, he's an early one. Dennis Van Winden. And there was not much of us, but it just, so you could see the same, but it's just all of a sudden there's more service courses, and then the riders who hope to turn pro someday see that the pros are there, so they come, and then the bike companies and the tour groups come because that's where the pros train. And now it's like, I went back to the Traca for the first time last year since I left the World Tour in 2019, and it is like Disneyland for bikes. It's crazy now. So but it was kind of so I was there early days. But
I was recently 3 weeks up in Andorra, and I have to say Andorra feels like the OG days in Girona.
Oh yeah, interesting.
It's different because it's not so concentrated because of the valley and all the mountains, but it's kind of, you have like this really professional atmosphere when you see guys out there. They're all like just training, they're doing their coffees. We used to do more coffee stops definitely in the past.
Yeah.
These days, just stopping at a petrol station, exhausted, and drinking a Coke, doing the next intervals. But it was actually nice because it really felt like back in like 2009, 10, where it was different in Girona, and I enjoyed it back then a bit more.
Yeah.
But okay.
I like Girona for a week. It's really fun for a camp, for an intense riding. For Traca week is like the biggest week in Girona for cycling, I think. But I don't think I could live there. I remember, they'll probably be mad at me for saying this, but whatever. It's, like Primož Roglič was, an early pro. It was like right after he came from skiing, and he was the super talent with Jumbo. And like, you used to be able to go in Girona and just, hit the bar for a night, or if you needed to.
Man, Irish pub was the place to be.
Yeah.
So at Irish pub, you could meet every night.
Yeah.
Numerous World Tour riders.
And Primož was there on St. Patrick's Day, and of course he had too many beers, and this was early days, but of course it was like the whole gossip the next day was like, oh, did you see Primož was falling out? And you're just like, oh my gosh, like you can't escape it now, So, the Irish pub.
It was really funny. Like the first thing everyone knew, or the first place, now it turned into like, the coffee spots, but back then it was like where the Irish pub is.
Yep.
When you came to town,
the
Irish pub, place to be, having some fish and chips and some Guinness or whatever, or better tasting beers than Guinness.
Yeah.
And do you actually enjoy being in an environment where a lot of cyclists are, or is it, I don't know how Santa Rosa is, but like you say you enjoy Girona for a week, but I guess it's also because you can meet a lot of partners. It's just like a big happening. But would you like to live in such a place now?
No, never. And to be honest, Boulder is that too. Boulder is where everyone who in the US wants to be a pro or wants to train goes to be seen. And growing up in Boulder, it was different. Like I had my high school friends, and then I was racing bikes. It was always kind of the attitude of, the up and comers and the semi pros who had something to prove in Boulder, and Girona was a bit the same. And I honestly don't like it. There's always like competition when there doesn't need to be competition. You're looking at people, and even it's insincere. And to be honest, probably like you and I even did it, but like we would probably see each other on the Rambla in Girona and be like, you feel obligated. You're like, hey, Paul, like how you doing? Like, oh, it's, good to see you. Like maybe we go for a spin sometime. And in reality, we probably had no intention of messaging each other to go for a spin. And it's like, I say that in that you can't escape cycling. And I think it's important to be able to escape cycling. But then again, for an up and coming rider who doesn't know what they're doing, they need the network, they need the training roads. It's a good thing for that too. I guess what I really like about Santa Rosa is that the riding is good and there's a strong cycling community, but it's not a lot of pros. It's a really supportive community. Like people love riding and they follow it, but they're not like aggressively fighting to all be professional.
Yeah. But I also think like we grew up differently. I'm really like addicted to my phone, so I'm like really like a digital person now.
The
obviously.
first step is admitting that.
Yeah, but I'm still like in so many ways analog, and like I feel the way, well, I can see the way I grew up, like really being analog and like do your own thing and like
Yeah.
concentrate on certain things. But when you're now in Girona, it's like everything. It's more like training feels a bit like a happening. Like you kind of have to do it and to be seen and to be on like social media and all this shit. It turned into something different. It feels for me from the outside. So I mean, it's really judgmental what I'm just doing right now, but that's what I see, kind of. And I don't want to be part of it. So when I'm in Girona for like training, I really try to escape this whole like thing. So like also on the street when you're walking around, yeah, you see so many familiar faces, and I actually don't like. I mean, I'm living in Berlin. That's why I'm living in such a big city. I like to be anonymous, like being on my own, and But yeah, also I mean, a week like Trucker is interesting in Girona because so much is happening there, and I also feel like, for me, Trucker seems to be already bigger than Unbound, with everything which is happening around it. Not maybe the race itself, like the status, but like everything which happens around, like all the activation from certain brands.
Yeah.
But I guess also because of the whole infrastructure, you have much more cafes. It's easier to access. It's not so expensive to access.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Unbound will always be the grandfather, is the first one, the big one, but Traka is a similar format, and it's just the multi-day event, and because you are coming to an easily accessible city, and there's a lot more to do. There's the cafes, there's diverse riding, and to be honest, like even though, gravel grew first in the US, like I think, it's still, Europe is the heartland of cycling, right? Like, and I say that, and I will fight that, like, gravel in the US is like the space to be. I think it's still the most competitive, and it's the most professional opportunity in terms of a career. But Europe is where cycling as a sport is more popular. There's a bigger fan base and there's more riders. And Traka is boosting off of that and their location. It blew my mind how big that race was last year. It was super cool.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of want to talk about the business of gravel later on anyway, but as we're there already, how to describe it? Like, so OG land of gravel is the US. So, but as you say, like Europe, it's not taking over, but it's getting bigger and bigger, and like events like Traka and the whole UCI Gravel World Series is kind of based in Europe, as the World Tour is, So, and do you feel that the US try to protect themselves too long and not being open for like maybe a change or like a how to say, like moving in a different direction with gravel racing? Because I feel always like that US really wanted to protect themselves, or like we are the OG country, we have the biggest race, everything which happens here is the most important, and like Europe kind of like does its own thing, but that's not real gravel, so say, and you can see it always in comments, is everyone is talking about gravel differently from the US. Like when I see under my videos when I do like recaps of world championships, I say that's not gravel racing, because I see like what they have in Kansas as that is gravel racing, but gravel racing is so diverse and you can't just put a name on it and say that's it. So, and sometimes feels like, the US is too protective of it, and like kind of realize now, we actually have to open up. I mean, you see now how many races from the US scene are in the Gravel Earth Series, which is based in Europe. Yeah. Which has a European heritage and a short heritage, but they do have one. And it feels, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think I do see that, and I think part of that stems from, in the US, we generally have a really big mistrust in the UCI because, mountain biking also started here, and it was kind of like gravel, is these big, long 2 to 3 hour courses of like you climb all the way up, and it's how we would go mountain biking. And then the UCI makes their template, which is these short, fast courses for spectators, and it's basically short track racing now. And it really hurt the way that people ride in the US. Like it's, mountain biking is similar to road or cross country mountain biking is. And I think there's a big distrust that anything the UCI takes, it's all for profit and it's not holding on to the sport. And so we definitely, I think, collectively don't trust the UCI and protect that. But it's also, you have a very valid point in that there's not one way to fit all. The whole point of gravel in the first place was a new way of riding and a new way of racing a bike and the adventure of exploration. And you realize too that like in Europe, yeah, you have these straight roads in Kansas that go for 100 kilometers if you want in one direction. And that's what we have. Europe doesn't have that. Europe, the towns, the cities are much more compact. So it makes more sense that you have to do more, like I call it BWR style, mixed terrain, circuits maybe, because that's what you have. You're working with the canvas that you have, right? I do think even, you guys in Europe, you have a distinction in the style of races because, there is the UCI style, which is their template, which is you take a racing license and you go there to race your bike, and that's it. And then Gravel Earth is very much that US adventure first format. And I really love what Gerard and Klaasmark are doing because he is focusing on, kind of mitigating. He's making some rules now to mitigate like the team infusion and the road racy attitude that is starting to come into gravel. But it's always been adventure focused. Traca does feel more like a US race, and it's a big loop and an epic adventure, and you feel a sense of accomplishment instead of just about the race. And I guess like I've always just kind of come to it in just the idea that it's you vote with your registration. I mean, there's different. In the US we say different strokes for different folks, right? It's different. If you want to wear a skin suit and race only and go home, fine. And if you want to camp and like eat sandwiches in the race, there's also a race for that, and you register with what you want. And for me, I have to remember, why I came as one of the early guys to gravel was I had to think a lot to make it a successful living on like, why is gravel, why is it successful? Why was it such a big fresh breath and a new adventure from road cycling? And if it just starts to become road racing on dirt surfaces, then it's not about me doing worse per se or anything. It's about like losing what made this whole industry and discipline grow in the first place. And you will start to lose followers and riders that way, because then it could just become road racing off road with like riders who didn't maybe make it in the world tour, that's not going to entice the fans.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. Sometimes just feels like we had for like 2-3 years, like really the spirit of gravel. And after that, like I kind of stuck in a place where road is now, where you start to judge and trying to put gravel into like how do you say it,
into a box
and say that's gravel, and also like fighting like the kind of the culture war of like that's European style, that's American style, instead of just being open and just being happy about that the whole thing is growing. Everyone kind of does their own thing. And I mean, if people, as you say, want to go and like start in a t-shirt, and we're gonna go in a skin suit, it's just like your personal choice, but you shouldn't judge about it. And I feel like we got quite judgmental already in the space, and I feel it's annoying sometimes, because that's not what gravel should be. People talking about diversity, but then often we come to a point where we're actually not diverse in our mind, and just like trying to put like barriers up and protecting ourselves, and it's just like,
and I mean,
bullshit,
I definitely got in trouble for that early days. I got accused of being a gatekeeper with some guys who spoke up about the old style, like myself and Boswell, and the online comments would just attack us, and some people would stand by us too, but it was never from a space of like, oh, maybe faster guys are coming or it's getting more racy. It was always trying to like respect what made this special in the first place.
Yeah, there's certain things we should all agree on. Like
we should honor too.
Yeah, like the thing with like the aero bars like 3 years ago, the discussion we had before Unbound. And honestly, it's safer for everyone. Like we don't have to do every stupid thing, and it's okay to put rules in place.
Yeah.
So it's like also we should stop pretending that gravel doesn't need any rules, because you kind of need them to make it safe for everyone and,
you have to
accessible.
Realize, it's a little bit it's that band that, you found at a house party or a small venue, and now it's playing in sold out stadiums, and the look and the sound, it has to change, right? And I think it's unavoidable when there's more money, and now there's true prize money and careers being made in gravel. I mean, you have to change the way it looks. I mean, pro gravel can't stay grassroots.
No,
it's
too much money now.
It's too much money, and it's going to start drawing more people from different walks of life because of the opportunity.
And that's also fine. But I guess let's hope that guys like us still have enough impact on like the younger guys coming in. I kind of like
I think it's an important lesson in just like how to market yourself too, and like there's always a way to spin and tell the story, right? Like there is looking for the adventure and looking for internal happiness, but also having to realize that there are times when like you just have to race, and that's why when I build a calendar for the season, it is kind of a mix. There's probably always 30% of these races that are like small, good vibes races where it's like, yeah, you maybe win, but no one really cares. It's more about just having a good time and drinking a beer the night before the race because that's what everyone's doing. And then when you have fun.
But it's also the local crowd or the local competitors that like appreciate that someone like you is there,
I hope so.
I think so, because like it's also important to like support these smaller events, and being visible, especially when they're maybe around your home. And it's not, not every event has like 1,000 participants. Some maybe have just like 100, 200. It's also fine.
Yep.
Also, these events need support. But we already jumped a bit, but I would like to go back to the point. So like you being a World Tour rider with Trek Segafredo in your last years until 2019. You were one of the early ones. I think Ted King was kind of like the first one who really stepped into it.
Yeah.
From like the road. And then it was you doing already gravel races as a World Tour rider in 2019. I think the BWRs you did.
Yeah. It was interesting. It's, people like to make controversy on who was the first gravel pro.
It's bullshit. That's like
it was. So Ted retired, and he was a Cannondale sponsored ambassador, and he was going to Grand Fondos and VIP rides and some of these gravel races as like an ambassador. Like in his mind, it was never racing the same anymore, it was, and so Ted was like that first early guy, and he'll admit he almost kind of like accidentally fell into it. And here growing up in Santa, or not growing up, but living in Santa Rosa, we have this series that you've probably heard of called the Grasshopper series, and this was before gravel was ever a word. It's been adventure rides. There's creek crossings and pavement and dirt and everything, and I would always do them for training. And so in 2019, I was struggling to get a new contract. I had a big virus and my results suffered. And I started thinking about this gravel thing and just maybe racing in the US. And, late in the season, Trek came back and they're like, okay, we re-sign, like we keep going for another year. And my friend had said, like, you have to try this thing called the Belgian waffle ride. It's like a grasshopper on steroids. It's crazy. And so I went to Trek and I said, well, like, yeah, I'll sign, but I want to do a few of these gravel races. This makes sense. And honestly, like, Belgian Waffle Ride is 10 days before Tour of California. Like, I want to, it's good training. It's a public appearance for you guys as a sponsored rider. Like, Trek should be happy. And so in my contract, I got my agent to write in actually that I get to do the Belgian Waffle Ride, Unbound, and Leadville. And they were guaranteed races. And so I raced Belgian Waffle Ride in 2019, and it was crazy. It was just it really got my gears turning. In it. Were you there that year, or you were there the next year? You were there in 21.
I think 21. Yeah, 22 wasn't possible because of COVID.
Right.
And
I remember seeing you in a white jersey. And I was like, who the fuck? He's really. Oh, that's Paul. Like, I raced him in the World Tour.
Yeah, no. 21 was my first year coming to the US. Yeah.
Yeah. And so anyway, like in 2019, I had a good battle with Ted and some other riders, and it was so hard and so fun. And I won the race. And like at the end, like it was hosted at a brewery. They put my dirty Trek bike like on top of the bar, and they're passing beers through the frame and the wheels to all the partiers. And I raced toward California as a domestique for Richie Port a week later. And even after I swung off on the climb and I'm just like making it up in time cut, people started yelling like, "That's the Belgian waffle winner, go!" You know, and like I was like, holy cow, like this means something. There's a lot of excitement. And then, you know, I did Unbound, and Lachlan and Alex Howes came for EF. And I got second to Colin Strickland.
Was it 19, yeah?
Yeah, 19. Colin Strickland broke away, and we never
Chewie
saw.
did this epic solo, huh?
Yeah, and so I was second, and then I did Leadville, and I think I was fourth at Leadville. But it was they were all confirmations, and Trek Sports Marketing actually told me at the end of the year. They said of all like the sports marketing hits and media impressions we got all year, Chiccone's stage win in the Giro, and I think someone had the yellow jersey for one day in the Tour. Those were like the biggest sports marketing hits. And then third and fourth of all of Trek Factory Racing was my custom bike at Unbound and my second place and my Belgian Waffle Ride win. And then everything else, País Vasco, Romandy, Catalunya, it didn't matter. Like it was beneath those. And I was like, holy cow, there's something here. So that was in 2019. It was almost like a proof of concept of like, I could make a living doing gravel races in the US and being at home, race at home and enjoy beer post race and all these things.
So and that was the moment for you where you decided, okay. So like then 2019 was your last year on the road.
Yeah.
Did you want to stay in the road, or was it for you like kind of, oh, I think I'm going to do this other direction?
No, it was both in that like, I mean, when we grow up, I mean, you're told like the World Tour and the Tour de France is the pinnacle of the sport, and you work since you're a junior to get there, and like it's scary to leave on your own, and I didn't want to, but you know, gravel was so new that some of the people within Trek, some directors were trash talking me, even to other teams, like, oh, Stetina's a beer drinking gravel racer, he doesn't care about road cycling. They just thought I wasn't committed, even though I still trained very seriously. My diet was on point, you know, all of it. Like I still cared, but it was fun. And there was a disconnect. And I think it was the European mentality of like, this is World Tour racing and this is what you only think about in your life, versus me who was like, oh, if I can do like a couple fun events per year, Trek as my sponsor should like it, you know? And it was just a disconnect. And it wasn't even Trek Corporation. I don't want to badmouth them. It was just like a difference of opinion between like traditional World Tour team managers and like this thing that was happening in the US. And so my agent started looking at all the other teams, and a lot of them honestly had a bad opinion of me at that point. And but my hard rule was, they said, oh, we want Stetina if he's committed to racing the World Tour 100%, like he was, you know, before. And my rule was like, I told my agents like, hey, sell me to, because everyone was whispering and talking about gravel, right? Like I'm sure you heard in 2019, like,
yeah, no, I started to follow a bit in 18,
yeah,
and then like 19 when you went in, and also the EF guys, of course, then it got even more on the map. And then I mean, during COVID, it was my decision to also become a gravel rider. But yeah, no, it definitely was on the map, yeah. But it was unspecific. You didn't know really what it is.
Yeah, it was just this weird thing that was happening. And so yeah, but basically my instruction to my agent was like, find me another team, but like I can be like their gravel specialist. Like I'll do a World Tour calendar, but like for the sponsor and for myself and all that, like I get to do, you know, 5 or 6 gravel races per year. And no team wanted that, except there was some pro Conti teams that were like, okay. But it was kind of at that time where I just kind of said like, this doesn't make this, they don't want this. And I need to, you know, like, there's this opportunity to do it myself. Like it was kind of very much like a fuck this, I'm going to do it my own then.
Yeah. And did you build up like a business case then? Like,
oh man.
So you went then gravel professional in 2020 and
so that was my angle, was basically these races are big enough and important enough that they deserve to have people focus only on them. Like, I'm going to be a gravel professional, which, you know, again, even though Ted was racing gravel, it wasn't, no one said those words, a gravel pro or a privateer, you know. It was kind of funny. It was like, yeah, it was crazy. Once I made that announcement, how big it was. It was worldwide. And it was interesting that the people were ready for that. And I think it's more just a story of like following your heart, you know, like I think anyone in any job can do that, think about that. But I had no, you know, I'd been I didn't finish college, you know, but like I understood marketing. I understood that at the end of the day, like, we are paid advertisements. You're ambassadors. It's racing helps validate a product, but that's it, you know. And I basically used my contacts. I would say any young rider listening to this, like, this world is so small. People move between companies, not racers. Like, it's good to have good contacts and good friends. Don't be a jerk. And I had people that believed in me. And so I basically started calling a few companies, and I had this understanding that, like, okay, if I can make, you know, $50,000 at minimum, because I have a family, I have a mortgage, I have how, you know, like, I need that so that I can at least get to races and show that this proves. And so basically I got, you know, three of my Cliff Bar was a long-term supporter of mine, so they believed in me from the beginning. Canyon saw this was happening, and they were, you know, the other brand I talked to besides Trek, and Canyon was immediately like, that sounds really cool. Let's try this. Because they were sponsoring the Belgian Waffle Ride at the time. So they saw what was happening. And then Shimano. And it kind of, with those three big companies, and Canyon and Shimano and Cliff Bar are all like very respected. You know, it wasn't like a little frame bag company or something, you know. It was true industry leaders. And with those three, that was kind of like the bottom of my foundation to build a house, right? And then I could start filling in a little bit more sponsors of like, okay, you know, I need, you know, sunglasses, and I need clothes, and I need tires, and all these things to fill in. And if there's money, great. If it's just product, I still need that to race. But anything I can get beyond that, like, that helps my my bottom line, because literally I'm paying for the hotels, the travel, all of this. So if I can take more money in, then I get to keep a little bit more at the end to pay my mortgage. And so that was all in on 2020. And then the pandemic happened. And I would say that was actually a blessing in disguise for me, is because all of a sudden there was no races, and I had sold all my sponsors on racing gravel. And so I basically got to take a year of, like, by just talking with creative brand marketing specialists of like, how do I give these people a return on investment, an ROI? Like, they put all this money into me, and now I need to show them and that it was worth their investment. And so I basically, it was like my COVID was a crash course in marketing. It was learning pitch decks and, you know, fancy PDF files on alternative projects and FKTs. And so that's where I really started to learn like the true business and evolve from there.
And were you surprised? I don't know your contracts in the first year, but were you surprised by like how much actually companies are willing to pay for an individual athlete doing a certain sport?
Yeah.
Because I have to say, when I started in 2021, so I started my talks in 2020, and I would say I was like the first European guy doing it. I called myself from the get-go professional because I earned my money with it, and it was my living. And I was surprised, like, how much actually like tire companies or whatever actually pay you to do a certain thing, and also other brands. It wasn't a huge amount of money, but it was like, because I know what is being paid and like
Right.
continental level, pro conti, or the pro tour level. So what suppliers actually pay teams, and then sometimes you're like, okay, I actually get more than whole teams getting doing like bigger races which are actually televised. And there I also realized, oh fuck, I saw that in your case with Canyon and so on, and you always heard rumors of numbers and so on in Europe. They maybe were bigger than they actually are. I don't know, but I was just surprised like how willing actually these companies were to support you. Like this new thing when no one really knew what's going to happen. At least in Europe, it felt like that.
I mean, I think there's people within all those businesses that just, everyone's trying to find the next thing, and they see the trends and the interest. And, in my case, like once I made that announcement, because no one had done that really, it was, the winter of 2019 was crazy in that I had companies just cold calling me saying like, hey, do you want to run our bottle cages? Do you want to run, and I basically, the bike industry will always try this for any, like and you have to get your parts covered, right? You have to, but everyone wants to always offer in kind first. And there's just a really nice way to say, like, with all due respect, like, if I want to do this right, I can't have a second job as a barista or a fabricator. Like, I need to pay my mortgage and I need to race and train. So there has to be a cash component. And once you have that real conversation, if they're interested in you, they will usually have something, you know. And you just build it kind of like tiers, like you see on your team jersey, right? There's your title sponsors and it's a bigger investment. And then, there's smaller guys and, because like a chain lube company, they probably don't have that big of funds. But if they have a couple $1,000s, like, that they're going the maximum they can, and you still try to provide the max you can for them. And you just kind of fill it in that way.
It feels just like that the years, 22 obviously was crazy because of COVID.
Yeah.
And like, Lawrence did in Europe his like, what did it call this unbound thing? Where I don't know what the name was back then.
Oh, Dirty Kanza.
Yeah, exactly. And so there were so many activations from like certain riders. But then I feel like in 21, when everything started again, I was able to travel to the US with like an exemption and so on from like the Olympic Committee, which was like a pain in the ass to get because no one was allowed to travel from Europe to the US. Right. And I was literally in airplanes, like, which was more staff than passengers on there.
Yeah.
Flying from Europe to US. I was there like having like literally like a whole area of seats just for myself, which was crazy times. But I felt like gravel is developing so quickly that we had like 2 years in which like the whole sport inflated so much that almost everyone got like a sponsorship deal. Everyone could make money somewhere, and all the brands wanted to do something. And like it felt like there are suddenly so many like so-called professionals out there or whatever, influencers, I don't know, with like the whole bubble just got so big until like it kind of felt exploded like a year ago or 2 years ago, where like we don't have a financial crisis yet, but like after COVID, like the industry realized, we're not going to sell the same amount of bikes like during COVID.
Yeah.
And suddenly all these people start to disappear again. And it feels like the how to say it, like guys like us, like who are having results, but also are able to tell stories, are left over, like it feels that what we could create in this like really short period of time, like having a career on like different how do you say it, like different legs, so like being a professional rider but also storyteller, kind of being influencer but also personality, so like different parts. I feel like now we're again in the time in gravel where it starts to become more like road racing, at least in Europe.
Yes.
Where it focuses more towards teams, focus more towards performance, less storytelling. And I feel like this 4 years where we established what we are doing now was already like the peak time.
Man, it was crazy. In the winter of 21, I had a bike brand email me, and they were just like, "Are you available?" And I said, "No, I'm locked in with Canyon for a long time." And they said, "Okay, like we have this many thousands of dollars. is there anyone you know that can be like a top 10 gravel racer? Like they wanted someone. All the brands were just like, give me a gravel rider.
I had the same.
It was crazy.
Like companies also approaching me, and I said, I have sponsors, but then also the same, asking for like any riders, any like German speaking rider, whatever.
Do you know
like,
anyone? Yeah. And it was, and it's totally, the bubble has burst a bit now. I mean, races aren't filling up like they were before. I own my own gravel race too, and registration numbers are not great, even though we have good reviews and follower counts online are growing. It's just people don't want to click the registration button the same. And
there are also more events to choose from now. Huh?
There's way more events. Yeah. And like you said, the modern gravel pro, it has become skewed a bit more towards results again. And I think I like to look at it as a spectrum, right? Like there's this whole spectrum. And on one end you have like Keegan, who just, he wants to race. He doesn't, and Sophia, you know, they don't care so much about the media. Like they'll do it, but like they're racers. And on the other hand, you have like YouTube influencers who are kind of racers, you know, and there's something all in the middle, you know, like I probably lean like closer to Keegan, but I do a lot of the media. You're kind of on that same boat, like still more performance oriented. You have a rider maybe like Dylan Johnson, he's honestly more famous, and he won't dispute this, for his YouTube channel, but he's actually like getting some results, you know? So it's this whole spectrum, and it's about finding your uniqueness and the way you fit in, and a brand that aligns with that and can share that story too, you know? But yeah, I think the people who are just copy pasting, or, you know, I know there's a bunch of young riders who's like, you know, oh, I beat Paul Voss at, you know, the Belgian waffle ride, like I should get paid as much as he does. And it's like, well, no, I mean, he's doing these vlogs for his sponsors. He has his own podcast. Like there's all these other things that make him valuable as an ambassador for our company. Like it's, the golden ticket is like race performance validates a product, right? Like as long as if you win 100%, winning counts. It does. It matters. And a result is the best way to validate a product. But really, you know, for a rider like you and me, it's, you want to be personable and outgoing. And I know it's not the easiest for some of us that are introverts, but at the end of the day, like, be in the podium conversation, you know, be fast and able to validate a product, but beyond that, your job is marketing, and these young racers need to understand that, in that at the end, like if you look at Instagram now, I think everyone's so hyper aware of just, they're being served ads secretly all the time. It's just advertisement, buy this, buy that, what do I believe in? Create a lasting impression. You know, if someone like, you know, gets a punk rock t-shirt from Keegan, or signs or talks about, you know, South African jerky with Matt Beers at the Specialized tent, then they're going to have a lasting impression and be a fan of Specialized, because it's a real human connection. And that's where, like, that really is like the deal sealer. And I think that's what sponsors look for in athletes too.
Yeah, that's true. How do you see the future of gravel? So
yeah,
you just mentioned, you just made a small break, that we have 20 minutes left. So it's up to you how much you want to extend that.
I don't know, man. I mean, if I had a crystal ball, I talk with sponsors a lot about it. I mean, I really try. A big part of my job is looking at races and trends that are evolving and changing, and new races that are coming up, and going to them and trying to highlight them. I think trying to be a gravel field expert is a big objective of anything that we do right now. I don't know where it's going. I mean, I see it getting more competitive. I see teams coming. I wonder to what extent that will happen. I do believe that there's a support system and educational component that can help riders deliver bigger results. I in a negative way, I see safety becoming a bigger and bigger factor. I mean, we've always been racing on unmaintained open roads, and when thousands of dollars are on the line, like riders are not going to stop at stoplights anymore. You know, in 2019, Ted King and Payson McKelvin stopped at a red light 300 meters from the line, put their foot down, and just decided they would, as soon as the light went green, they would sprint to the line.
Yeah, it's an iconic story and picture.
Oh, yeah. And so it's like, and so those days are done. I don't know where it goes. I mean, all I know is that I can, continue to fight and take the online love and hate for what I think is the right way.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking a lot about it and have also like kind of something in my head, but I have to think more about it. I mean, definitely European gravel racing will be different to American gravel racing, but also gravel Earth Series totally different to UCI.
Totally.
And UCI will definitely be more like on the road, 100% sure.
You can't forget that it's gravel is still about the other 90% of riders who want the adventure. Like without that, the sport will die. So
not at the UCI races though.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely totally different vibe, but I agree.
I mean, and I don't even, are you guys getting is there the media interest, the fans? Like even in the US market, there's barely a story on UCI races.
I mean, for the sponsors, depending on the sponsor, I mean, I know that your sponsor on the European side, for them,
Canyon likes it. Yeah. They have Caro doing it. And,
But then also there's like no big storytelling from their side either. So it's like, at the moment, I really don't get what sponsors really doing there or companies with these results, because they're not really telling any story. They kind of want it, that they're paying money, that the riders going there and they're paying good prize monies and so on, but there's just like no exposure. And I think we have to see. And also there was a time like a year ago or 2 years ago where more road teams have sent riders to the races, but it already stopped, like there's still one or two, but it's not like 2 years ago. And again, gravel is evolving so quickly that sometimes things which are 2 years old feel so long time ago, but it's actually not. It's just unbelievable.
The big tire thing is like, it's crazy how that took gravel by storm last year. Like, and there's a bunch of bike brands that are like caught off guard because,
No, not bunch. We have to say almost every major bike brand.
Yeah.
And like a small manufacturer or maybe someone who was lucky making a bike which fits bigger tires but wasn't as a concept made for like races, it's like you can't claim they were ahead. It's just like there was no one saw that coming, and there was people started feeling it was faster, but so now everyone's playing catch up. And it just happened after Unbound. Before Unbound, everyone was like kinda all right, and then after Unbound, I mean, I had also a few meetings. Everyone was panic modus. Getting new bikes, as quickly as possible, and also rider demanding them. Anyway, what are your plans for after the career? I don't know how many more years you want to do it.
I mean, I'm late 30s now, so I'm thinking about it actively. I mean, for me, I think it's clear that, and even from our conversation, I hope people realize that like I like and I understand the marketing angle of things. I like to think about, I think when you've trained and lived as a pro as long as you and I have, like, don't get me wrong, I love it and I'm super competitive still, but like it's almost like a new game of like doing this like privateer hustle and understand like marketing. And it's also clear that like whether or not gravel lives or dies, like I'm with it. Like I put my whole career on being the gravel guy. So I will stay in the industry for sure. I'd love to continue to work with some partners, and I am having some interesting conversations right now. And even like we talked about, like I would love to even help young riders like privateer better to, really be a new version of athlete than what is the tradition. So yeah, I'll stay in sports and I stay in the industry somehow.
Yeah, and also I think again, the time where we turned into like gravel professionals and coming from the road, the expertise we could gain and the things we could learn in the last years is kind of unique because I think from now on it will change again.
Mm-hmm.
And like this whole like building your own business, being a privateer, doing all like the economical side and business side, but also like travel. That's just everything. Speaking to people, giving feedback, developing products. It's different to maybe what's happening from now on because guys gonna be more towards results and more focused on that, like on the road, I guess. Yeah. So I think we have quite a lot of expertise.
Yeah,
so
I hope so.
We're open for job offers.
Exactly.
Not yet. We still got a few years left.
Yeah.
Okay.
If the day ever comes where you see there's team cars in gravel and I'm a director behind the wheel, you come over and you slap me so hard and tell me to get out of there.
but please, just once. Just slap him once. Eventually, that will happen, Pete.
But at least we'll get to drive super cool cars with really big tires and like, we'll be on ATVs and dirt bikes and stuff.
Can you imagine having, can you imagine following a gravel race in the car? Like doing unbound in the car, like going through Little Egypt.
Once I'm like too fat and slow to like keep up on a gravel bike, like maybe like it would be really fun to do it on a dirt bike. Like maybe I could follow on a dirt bike and just brap around and like yell instructions at riders.
Maybe that's a future.
And then drink the beer. Yeah. That'd be a fun gig.
Yeah. Okay, Pete, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Paul. Now we're going to go take you on some Sonoma County vineyard roads.
And the sun is coming out.
There we go.